Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge, a huge episode of Lazio Lounge because we have so many good things to talk about, but there's something really special that makes this episode amazing. Alison McKenzie is not here. So this is going to be an unbelievable podcast you cannot miss. Not only that, not only Alison is not here, but we have an amazing guest. We have Carsten Kroll here to join me. Thanks, Carsten, and hope you're fine.
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Very hot here in Italy, I have to tell you, but
Mhm.
I'm good. Thanks. Carsten, before we talk about what we were planning to say, let's talk about a little bit about Milinkovic Savic
Mhm.
because I want to ask you: were you expecting to see him leaving now? Were you surprised how the things finished for him?
I mean, not really. It felt like Milinkovic-Savic wanted to leave this summer. It kind of felt like he wanted to leave no matter what Lotito did, no matter what he offered. I think he's a little bit disappointed that he's not going to play in the Premier League. I know there's been interest from Manchester United and Arsenal and many other big clubs in England in the past. And I think that he wanted to go there, but it didn't seem like there was any interest this summer, which is very surprising to me, really. And then when there was a really good deal and very good wages, obviously in Saudi Arabia, he took the deal. I don't think he likes it much, to be honest. I think he likes the money, and I can't really blame him. I think that he's been in Lazio. Lazio is not a big club. They don't have very high salaries. He had a good salary. He had the highest after Thierry Immobile. So it was a good salary, but it was nothing compared to what you make if you're a big player in Juventus or Inter. So I think that he said to himself, I'm going to do 2 or 3 years in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to make more money than I've ever made in my entire career. And I'll just play the kind of football that's going to be down there. It's not going to be interesting. I'm not going to watch any of the games at all, but he's going to make a lot of money. And I'm not going to blame Milinkovic Savic for anything. He's been a great player for Lazio.
I wanted to ask you this. So many players have moved there. No interest at all about this league for you? Do you think with all these great players going there is going to change something?
No, 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 not at all. I mean, if you look at the teams, I know that they have 4 or 5 really good players, world-class players even, but the rest of the players they couldn't even play Serie C in Italy. So no, they probably couldn't, seriously.
Yeah.
So it's a weird kind of football, and I'm not gonna be watching even 5 minutes of that football. No, I'm not.
It's a shame. Do you think, because there have been a lot of rumors here in Italy that he's going to play the 3 years contract there and then he's going to come back to Lazio? Do you think this is possible? Or after that, he's going to move to Premier League or something bigger?
Oh, I hope he comes back. I mean, if he plays for 3 years, he's going to be 31 years old. Milinkovic Savic was never a fast, never a quick player. So it doesn't matter that he gets slower. He was never quick. He's very good at a number of other things. He could be a great player for Lazio if he comes back. So let's hope so. Let's hope that he and Lotito were really good friends when he left, because then I think we'll have a good chance to get him back. And I mean, he loves Rome. He's been living in Rome half his life, So
Yeah.
so hopefully, it's home for him, and we can get him back to Lazio.
Look, this is funny because nearly 1 year ago, you were talking to me, say, hey, watch out because there's this youngster in this Michelin team. He's very talented, great dribbler, very fast. He doesn't score that much, but he's a very interesting player. And the news of today is that Lazio is heavily linked with this player. Um, for the people who didn't see him enough, can you talk about Gustav Isaksen, right? Pronunciation is correct?
That was very, very good, actually.
Thanks.
A little lesson in Swedish and Norwegian and Danish is that if the last name ends with SEN, he's from Denmark. If it ends SON, he's from either Norway or Sweden, but mostly Sweden. So now you know that, Vittorio. Um, well, if people remember the game between FC Midtjylland and Lazio, when Midtjylland won 5-1 in the Europa League, I don't know if you remember that, Vittorio, that match.
No, I tend to forget that.
Yes.
I don't want to remember
Well,
remember that game, but I do, unfortunately. He
So
had a great match, right? There.
so Lazio got Midtjylland got two penalties in that match, and both penalties were against Gustav Isaksen.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about what kind of player he is. If he's one on one with the defender, I don't think many defenders can hold him. I mean, in Denmark, he's almost always double marked because he's so quick when he's one on one. I mean, even for Italy, even anywhere, I think that's his very big strength. He's really quick. So if he gets the time to turn around against the player, he's very quick on his feet. He can go both ways too. He has a tendency. He's left-footed. He's very left-footed. He has a tendency to go right, which is a little bit weird for a left-footer usually because your good foot is on the other side, so to speak. So, but he has a tendency to go right, and both the penalties against Lazio was that exact dribble. He went right with his left foot, and when he does that, he's really quick. Almost nobody can follow him. He used to not be a very good finisher, but against Lazio, he scored once in Herning. I think that was a rebound of penalty. And then he scored the one goal that Midtjylland scored in Rome when Lazio beat Midtjylland 2-1. He scored that one goal. He actually scored that goal with his right foot. And that's a little bit astonishing, but he did that. This year, he scored a lot of goals. He's actually the top scorer in the Danish league. It should be mentioned, though, that the last season Midtjylland played in the relegation games. So the Danish league, after half the league is gone, they divided up to a championship league and a relegation league, basically. And Midtjylland, for the first time ever, was in the relegation league. It was a big debacle here. It was kind of a fiasco for Midtjylland, but they won that league easily. They were never close to relegation, and he scored in just about every single game. So last year, he suddenly started scoring a lot of goals. So he basically had the best season of his life, which is why everybody's talking about him getting sold this season, obviously. He's 22 years old. He scored, I think, let me just check. He's played in the Super League. He's played 139 games. He scored 33 goals, and he's had 18 assists. It's not impressive numbers. It's not Ciro Immobile numbers, at all. But for a winger, and in the beginning, he was a very young player. He played from when he was 17, 18 years old. He would come on in a lot of games. So he hasn't played all these games at all.
It's nice you mentioned Ciro Immobile because Di Marzio, I think it's a mistake, mentioned it, saying that he could be the replacement of Ciro Immobile. He's a winger, right? He's not a number 9. Can he play centrally? And most of all, can you play right wing and left wing, or he's only in one position?
Well, when you look at the way that Lazio plays, they play 3 men up front. He can only play, I think, the right winger and maybe the left winger. He can play those 2 wings. He's better off the right. I don't think he can play Thierry Immobile's place at all. In Midtjylland right now, they play a 4-4-2, and he plays one of the strikers up there. So in that system, he works as a striker, but I've never seen him as a central striker in a 3-man offense. It might work, I don't know, but I don't think it will work.
Considering Lazio, do you think he's going to be a player fighting for the starting position, knowing that we have Zaccagni, Felipe Anderson, Pedro, or will he be a little bit like the replacement that come in the last 20 minutes when the other team is tired?
To be honest, I think that his level right now is between Felipe Anderson and Cancellieri on the left, on the right wing. I would say that he's still a young player. He has to get used to Italy, and Sai, he doesn't just give you a position when you're a young player at all. You really have to fight for it. But I think Isaksen is a better player than Cancellieri. He's probably about the same level as Pedro, but he's not as good as Felipe Anderson. Felipe Anderson, for me, was maybe the best Lazio player last season. I mean, he's amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
I think the only thing that Gustav Isaksen does better than Felipe Anderson, I think he's a better counter-attack player, and I think he's better one-on-one to dribble. But Felipe Anderson is a much more intelligent player, and he's a much better striker Philip Anderson is such a good finisher now. I mean, he's turned out to be. He didn't used to be, but now he's a really good finisher. But the thing about Isaksen is he has so much raw talent because he's so quick that if you can get a really good coach, like maybe the best coach in Italy that we have in Lazio, in my opinion, there is so much to develop in his play. Because if you can make him as good a finisher as maybe Felipe Anderson, he could be a real asset for any club, I think.
Are you impressed or surprised that because here in Rome, here in Italy, they're saying that Sarri demanded him? It's the request Sarri said, if I can get Berardi, that was his top choice. He said, I want to get this guy, Isaksen, probably because he saw him in the two games we played against Michelin. But it's is it impressive that Sarri selected this player that's very young?
It is. It's. I think he played really well against Lazio.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes, of course. Unfortunately, so of course he knows him really well. Uh, the difference between someone like Berardi and from Sassuolo and Isaksen, that's huge. There's a huge difference. Berardi is the finished article. He's a great player. I mean, he's a like a world class player almost. Uh, Isaksen is not the finished article. He's not a finished player. He has a lot to learn. But the thing about Gustav Isaksen is that he's a really, really good guy. He's someone that everybody in the team really likes. He doesn't have a big ego. He's not that kind of person at all. He's very down to earth. And I think that if he gets a really good coach, he's the kind of guy, he doesn't complain if he's on the bench. So he's a real team player. But if you can teach him all these things, I think the ceiling is very high for Isaksen. That's just my opinion. But right now, Berardi is 2, 3 levels above him. That's just the way it is.
Listen, here they're talking about offer of around 10 million euros plus two of bonus for the player. Do you think it's the right fee for him, or do you think Michelin will try to increase the fee for the winger?
I think they will try to increase the fee. What I know is that from a very reliable source in Denmark is that there is a connection between Lazio and Midtjylland, and they are getting closer to an agreement. But I also think that there's other clubs after Gustav Isaksen at the moment. I think so. The thing is, Midtjylland is not a poor club. It's actually rather a rich club. It's very well run. Midtjylland sold players for about 40 million euros the last couple of years, and they have a lot of money in the bank already. So Midtjylland don't have to sell Gustav Isaksen. They don't have to, but I think they want to. I also think that they're not going to take any less than 15 million euros all in all. I don't know bonuses and all that stuff, but it's not going to be 10. That's for sure. Maybe 10 plus bonuses. I don't know. But at least 50 million euro bonuses, 50 million euros. And I think Midtjylland are usually very good at getting extras. So if Lazio sells him on for in 2 or 3 years, Midtjylland will have like 20% or something like that. Midtjylland are usually fairly good at getting those things in the contracts.
You were talking about other clubs. There's rumors here in Italy that Atalanta could be interested in the players. Do you have any news confirmation about this? And do you think that they could steal the player, like unfortunately already happened with other players, with Lazio?
Atalanta just sold a player, another Danish player, Rasmus Højlund, for 70 million euros. So they have a lot of money in the bank. Atalanta are great at selling players. They really are. You have to say that. And that was a Danish player they had for 1 year, and they made 50 million euros on him. So why not try for another Danish player, right? I think that to be completely honest, I think Gustav Isaksen would maybe be better off going to Atalanta because Atalanta is not as good as Lazio. Lazio is just a better club, and I think he'd be closer to starting for Atalanta than for starting at Lazio. On the other hand, Lazio is playing Champions League this season. Atalanta is playing, what is it? Maybe Europe League, Conference League, I can't remember. And I think Gustav Isaksen, there will be a lot of games. So I'm thinking that Gustav Isaksen will have some chances anyway to get to start. I don't know. Atalanta has a lot of money, and they're
Yes.
not afraid of spending them. I think they just spent 40 million euros on a player, which is a whole lot for a club like Atalanta. So they've already spent a lot of the money that they've made on Rasmus Højlund. But we'll see.
Yeah, Atalanta is very good. And do you think the fee, for me, and I want to hear your opinion, what Manchester United paid was far too much. Very interesting, very young player, but come on, 75 million euros. Then, Milinkovic Savic for 40, it's a steal.
Well, the difference between those two players, obviously, is that Rasmus Højlund he just turned 20, so he's so young.
Yeah, very young.
And I think 75 million euros is a lot of money, but clubs like Manchester United always have to pay twice of what the players are worth, basically, because they have so much money. Everybody knows it. I think that the thing that Rasmus Højlund has, he has a very, very special package because he's really, really big. He's 189 centimeters, so he's a big guy. And he's not just tall, he's big, he's broad-shouldered, and also he's really, really quick. I think he was the quickest player on Atalanta's team. And you don't see that a lot. You don't see a striker who's that big and at the same time he's so quick.
Yes.
So I think Manchester United paid a lot of money for a big prospect, a big talent. I would agree with you, 75 million euros is a lot of money for somebody who I don't really see him starting for Manchester United. But he does have a very interesting package, if you know what I mean.
Yes, he's very interesting. The other point is, well, he played only 1 year, so you never know if he's going to be like that going forward, or it's just 1 year exceptional. With
Well,
Milinkovic Savic,
he played two matches for Denmark and he scored 5 goals. So his first two matches ever for the Danish national team, he scored 5 goals in those two matches.
which is
So
not
that's something. That's
yeah,
pretty
definitely.
good.
Definitely. With Milinkovic Savic gone, there are rumors that Kamada could be the replacement. Do you like the player? Do you think it's the perfect fit for Lazio, or would you try something different? Considering that Lazio have a little bit of money, we are not Manchester United, but selling Milinkovic Savic gave Lazio a little bit of budget to buy a good player.
I don't know Kamada that well. I'm sorry. He seems like a really good player. He also seems to have very, very large demands. He wants to
Ye-
make a lot of money, apparently.
Yes.
You know, what's the thing about Lazio is that the way that Lazio is run at the moment, they have a really, really good coach. Everybody knows what to do in that system. Everybody has a lot of faith in that coach. The reason why Lazio is such a good team, and I think they'll be a great team next year as well. I really do. Because
Hmm.
because Sai has had 3 months more to work the system into these players, and they're so difficult to play against. We know that. And I think it's very important if you get somebody aboard, somebody who comes to Lazio, they really, really need to want to join Lazio. You can't get somebody who thinks he's the star of the team right away. It doesn't work in Lazio. There is only one star at the moment, that's Thierry Immobile, and he's definitely earned being the star of the team. The rest of the team, they have to work together really, really well. And if you get somebody who thinks he's above the team, I mean that doesn't work in Lazio, in my opinion.
What do you think about Luis Alberto? Because he had a terrific season last year. Now
Very good season.
this summer he's a little bit. He didn't travel with the team to England for this friendly match. He's complaining about the new contract, etc. Is he a key player for Lazio? Do you think Luis Alberto is fundamental for this team, or do you think, well, if Lazio get the right fee, they should sell him and find another replacement?
No, we should definitely not sell him at all. I think he's very, very important. I think Sai was not too crazy about him last season in the beginning of the season, but then the last half of the season, Sai went out of his way to praise him after every single match. I think he's a key player for Sai. I think there are two players that Sai does not want to lose, in my opinion, and that's Luis Alberto and Felipe Anderson. He said this so many times. He doesn't want to lose those two players. And Luis Alberto, every single summer, Vittoria, we go through this. Every single summer, Luis Alberto's agents are out trying to sell him to all kinds of teams. Listen, he's not a young guy anymore. We can't even get that much money for him. We should not sell this guy. We should tie him down for 4 or 5 years and let him play with Lazio. Plays. I don't even think he's going to be that great of a player in another team. When he was at Liverpool, which is my team in England, he was terrible. He was
Yeah.
hopeless. He played 5 matches or whatever, and he's such a slow player that I don't, lots of teams can't use anybody like that. But he's such an intelligent player, and I think that in Lazio right now he has the perfect spot. He should basically sign that contract as quickly as possible and stay in Lazio for 4 years. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he had an offer from Saudi Arabia, again, like Milinkovic, but he turned it down. And because, to be honest, at that age, he's turning 31, if I'm not wrong. You cannot demand that much money. So it's not worth selling a player like that, even because you have to replace me with someone very good. So that would be the most difficult thing. And we seeing it now, right? We sold Milinkovic what 3 weeks ago, and we still didn't sign the replacement, which is terrible. So this is my biggest concern. It's not selling players; it's signing the replacement that we struggle so much. So,
Yeah,
but I'm
but
not.
how do you sign a replacement for Milinkovic? You can't do that. It's impossible. You have to find another kind of player because there's no one like him. And if there
No.
was someone like him, we couldn't afford him anyway. You know.
You know what? You're a Liverpool fan. I thought Szoboszlai could have been the perfect solution. Obviously, Lazio could have buy him now, 70 million euros. But 3, 4 years ago, you could have get him for 20 million euros. And I thought Szoboszlai, a little bit different, but has that similar skill of Milinkovic Savic.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think it's too late now anyway.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely, he's gone. Before we wrap it up, last time you talked about Isaksen. Is there another youngster Danish player coming up that could be in the future a player linked with a lot of good clubs?
There's a player at FC Copenhagen called Tarami. He played for. He's on the national team. He has a lot of the same characteristics as Isaksen. He's about 20 years old. He's from Copenhagen. Copenhagen sold him to Ajax Amsterdam, and then and he couldn't really get into the team in Ajax, so he came back to Copenhagen. They loaned him on a loan deal, but I think he's back at Ajax again now. He's a really good player. He's very young too. He's only 20, 21. Very good dribbler. He's probably out of Lazio's price range because he plays for Ajax. I think
Mm,
they would probably want 30 million euros for him. I think it's too much, to
yeah,
be
it's
honest.
difficult.
Yeah.
Talking about another Copenhagen player, how's Vavro going? How's Vavro doing?
Well, he won another title, man. I mean, he from when went back to Copenhagen, he's won 2 titles. So no, he's a huge success in FC Copenhagen. He's done really well. He's on the team every single time. I think that with another coach than Inzaghi, I think he could have been pretty good in Lazio as well. He's a really quick player. He's very strong. He's very athletic. He's not the most intelligent player, but if he has someone next to him who can tell him what to do, he's usually a really good player. I think today the defense we have now in Lazio, he couldn't get on the team at all. It's so strong. Lazio's defense is just incredibly strong now.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, with Gila, that is the fourth option. Maybe Vavro could have been there, but spending 10, 11 million euros for Lazio for a bench player, that's not going to happen. But
No.
I'm happy he's back. He's enjoying it. He's winning, as you were telling me. So that's good for him. And again, another disappointment signing from Iglitare. Looking at this summer, do you think that Lazio needed Iglitare, or do you think it was the right decision to let him go?
I mean, right now I think both you and I are thinking maybe Iglitare should have stayed for another 3 months, and then Lotito could have fired him. But let's see. In the next couple of weeks, Lotito has to deliver. He has to deliver a couple of players. I think he
Definitely.
will. I don't think there's any problems between Sari and Lotito. I think it's basically going according to plans. But of course, Lotito, he's basically been the sports director this summer. He's never done that before.
He's been
So
everything.
He's been everything this summer. Yeah, he hasn't had much of a summer vacation. If he lands a couple of players, I think Isaksen will be a good player for Lazio. Maybe not this season, but you have to remember he's very young. He's only 22. I think within a couple of seasons, I think he could be a really good player in Italy. I mean, you saw him against Lazio in that one game. He's not. It's not like he can't play against those defenders. Lazio has good
No.
defenders, and he was doing really well. So I think that'll. I would like another midfielder as well.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can get someone to who can play a couple of positions in the center of the park. I think defensively we're so strong at the moment. I don't think we need someone else, really.
You were saying about Isaksen a couple of years. I think ours, unfortunately, I would say, Serie A is such a bad league this year, and even next year, that I think he could start even now and make a difference. I think. I mean, we don't have a lot of good defenders now. I mean, see Juventus and other clubs, they're not that great defenders. So he's fast, so he could have an impact directly. Probably that's why we are trying to sign this player.
Mm. Well, he's very quick, that's for sure. My problem with him going to Lazio right now is that he's playing the same position as Philippe Anderson, and Philippe Anderson is just—he's never been better than he is at the moment. He's so good at the moment. But Lazio is going to have to play maybe 50 matches this season, all in all. So I think Isaksen will probably get a lot of playing time. But if they sign Isaksen, it's a very bad. It's not a good thing for Cancellieri, because I think
Yeah.
Isaksen will definitely go above Cancellieri right away in the pecking order. Maybe next to Pedro, right around that.
Hmm.
He's a very different player than Pedro. I think Pedro has done really well for Lazio. He's so experienced. But he does get a lot of injuries. Isaksen does not get a lot of injuries. He's very injury free so far.
That's good.
So maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe Sarri sees something in him. We can
Yeah.
hope so. But Sarri is not very good at giving young players chances, in my
No,
opinion.
no. But Felipe Anderson played every single match in these 2 years. It cannot go any longer. I mean, he has to rest a little bit. Pedro, great player, but he's turning 35. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw it end of last season. He couldn't play every single match. So
No,
you're
I agree.
basically relying on Zaccagni and Felipe Anderson. And with the Champions League, with the Serie A, you need to rotate. And I think that's why we're trying to sign Isaksen. And
I,
rumors are that Cancellieri will be sold. So, I think we need someone better there.
yeah, I'm not. I think that if Cancellieri will be sold, we haven't really lost anything. I wasn't very impressed by him last year.
No.
I think there's one thing we have to remember, Vittorio, and that is that whenever Ciro Immobile gets injured, and I know we both love him very much, but Ciro Immobile is getting older and he gets more and more
Yes.
injured, and the best replacement for Ciro Immobile is Felipe Anderson. We've seen that again and again. We basically don't lose anything. Whenever Ciro Immobile is injured, Felipe Anderson plays great in that number 9 role. He's a different player than Ciro, but he does it so well. And the thing is that if you put Felipe Anderson into the center instead of Ciro Immobile, there'll be space for maybe Gustav Isaksen on the right. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I
we
think Sai loves Felipe Anderson in that central role.
definitely. But we signed Tati Castellanos this year, so maybe something's going to change. It could be the
I
the
don't
the
know him at
replacement
all.
of.
I don't know him at all.
We still haven't seen him play. He's going to play this friendly, so we're going to have more news about him. But yeah, I mean, Felipe Anderson played terrific as a number 9, so this is
Yeah,
going to
he
be
does.
interesting. Uh, Carsten, thanks again for joining me. And
Sure.
when we're going to have more news about Isaksen, I think you're going to jump in and give us a new update. Thanks again.
Certainly. And say hi to Alistair for me.
Okay, I will. Thanks.
Bye.